So, I have been working with startups for now 2 decades. I mean, I work with when Infosys and all that, really small. And I myself work with Wipro when we were a startup. And so, over a period of time, I've seen startups and I've seen some succeed big and some fail. And I've lived and worked in the Bay Area too, again seeing different kinds of startups there. The Googles of the world and Facebooks and people who make these companies happen. And so, what prompted me to think of doing this session today was, if you really look in the last few years, there's been a lot of buzz around startups in India finally. I mean, after the 2000 bust, I think we kind of went low for a while, and then now in the last few years again there is some energy and activity. You can make out Economic Times has got this big I think middle page thing on startups and who is the coolest startup kind of thing now. So when ET talks about something, that means they know that people are interested in this. So startups is again coming back in vogue. There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of buzz. But if you really look back on in India, we don't have too many success stories. And even the success stories we talk about, like say a Make My Trip or a Naukri, or they are successes, but local successes. We still do not have global successes. We do not have market-leading companies, which if you define market as a global market, which is what it is today, we still don't have them. So what is it that's holding us back? And when I talk to entrepreneurs and VCs and everybody, look at ideas. I mean, for instance, today you were talking about this, taxi service. Actually, I have, in Bangalore and that team which has already got this idea and they have they got the first round of funding. I have personally used this service called Ola Cabs in Bombay to hire. If you just Google, there are enough and more taxi services. And interestingly, there is a very successful one in the US called Uber. I don't know whether you've heard of it, UBER. Okay, it's become a cult. It's become so famous that the government said, the Uber taxi service should be charging more than the normal taxi service because the small taxi operators are getting affected by it. So this is a business which has been discovered. So, it's the idea, any idea you can get, even the most innovative idea, if you start down and look at how unique it is, you will find that at least a few more people have already thought of it and they have gone a little way ahead even. And you might find them right in your, backyard. So ideas are whatever, I mean, how good we might feel about them, they can be dime a dozen. Okay? Money. Most people when they are at the early stage feel money is hard to get. But money chases success. So if your idea was good and it has shown some traction, believe me, money will chase you. You don't have to chase money. Simply because they have as much trouble finding the right people to invest in and the right projects to invest in as the other way around. So, ask any of your VC friends in private and say, what is keeping you away? He will say, I'm very worried that this great guy whom I think has got a very good, traction and has shown, he will go to my competitor. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, I was meeting an early stage investor, and we were discussing some company which has got some, it's got customers in India and all that. So I was asking him about that. He said, I wish they had called us to invest. I would have felt so honored. So money actually comes if you do even reasonable level of traction you are able to do, money comes. So money is not the biggest issue. Markets, timing of the market, people keep talking about it, how somebody got lucky because they were just in time for it. But really, if you're a good entrepreneur and you have a good team, it should adapt itself to the market. You know, you may start with some idea, but depending on the customer feedback, depending on what you see in the market, you should be able to morph it and make sure that you are getting the market correct. So market cannot really be an impediment. There is a market for something. Are you doing that something is what you have to figure. But one thing which makes or breaks any startup is people, teams. You don't get the right set of people because, you know, here one assumption I'm making, and it may not be true for all of you, is that you really want to build those big companies. You're really looking at a moonshot, not just as, you know, a lifestyle business. Because lifestyle businesses do not require, it's not that material. You can slowly build it. You can have the trusted, loyal few people who will do what you tell them to do. You know, it's a different game altogether. But if you're wanting to go beyond that and build organizations, build lasting businesses, build businesses which are market leaders in their space, then people and team are what can either get you there or get you out of it altogether. And in these kind of, when you're aiming big, the winner takes it all. Any space you look at, you know, look at this whole travel business, you have Make My Trip. There are 101 people who started off similar time. But either the clear leader is Make My Trip and maybe one or two will survive like a clear trip and a yatra, whatever, but it's the gorilla space. So the winner takes it all. So you have to be the number one or you are really not there. So this is not again those kind of businesses where you are, you know, you can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and still survive. So that's what got me to talk about, you know, people and hiring challenges, because you have the right people at the right time. There is no limit to what you can do, and vice versa. How do you get there? Who are these right people? What's the right time? So that's what I'm going to talk about. So let's start from the beginning. You know, if you're really starting out, you got this idea, you think that it's so good that you have left whatever you are doing, whether it was a job, whether you were, you know, studying, whether you were just taking a sabbatical. I mean, I know a lot of sabbatical people, you know, who say, I'm not doing anything more, I've done 2, 3 companies, I'm done with it kind of thing. And then they get this idea and you're just eating them, you know. You feel like if you don't do it and see whether it succeeds or not, you just can't rest. If you are at that stage and you have this idea, what is the first 1, 2, 3 things you should be doing when it comes to people? First is finding co-founders. Okay. Why co-founders? Who are these people? Why do you call them co-founders? Sometimes, you know, I keep getting asked, you know, I'm the one who had the idea. I'm the one who has put this initial bit of effort in terms of trying to see whether even in a small way, you know, the small market research, small testing, all that has been done by me. So why should I call these people co-founders? They are really not co-founders. They are coming in later. They are employees. No. The reason is that even the best sounding startup goes through enormous downturns, enormous troughs before it really starts stabilizing. And when it looks, when you're sitting in this room and you're saying, oh my God, I don't think tomorrow this is going to work, I need to shut down. You know, when you're in that kind of a low, the only people who are going to stand by you and work with you and make you come out of that low are your co-founders. And why? Because they share your risk profile. They are coming in, taking equal amount of risk like you are. They are giving up whatever they are doing because they are excited and passionate about what you are telling them about the future. So, co-founders essentially need to share your risk profile. They are not people who are coming in for fat pages. They are not people who are coming in saying that, tell me what they do. They are coming in like you, giving up a lot of things, bringing their friends along, saying, hey, this is a very good company, I'm going to be a co-founder here, come and work with me. They're putting their credibility at stake, bringing money, bringing customers, so they're going to share your risk. And therefore, these are all people who are going to be the kind who you have to really spend a lot of time before you decide that they're going to be co-founders. So how do you do this? First is look for complementary skills. A lot of times what I see is that people settle for their friends. People settle for ex-colleagues. Yes, it's nice to have friends and ex-colleagues as co-founders because you know them, you have a certain chemistry, wavelength match. But do they have complementary skills? If you are the technical person, they have to bring the business side. If you are the business guy, you have to have a technical co-founder. If you are doing a retail business, then the person, one has to be a retail guy and the other has to be more the supply chain guy. So there has to be complementarity in terms of the skills that the co-founders bring. Because otherwise what happens is, especially in the early stage, each one will step on the other's toes. And eventually the team will break. There is just nothing that you can avoid. I mean, you will always feel you know better than him when it comes to that because you have done it. He will feel he knows better than you, and that's it. I mean, that's the end of the game. So co-founders have to have complementary skills. They have to be as passionate and as excited as you are. They have to have the same value system. If you are talking about building a company where you're going to share, say, with your employees enough and more of the stocks and all, but they feel, why? The founding team will hold the stocks. The employees can come at a salary. Then there's a mismatch. It's not a small mismatch. It's a big mismatch in values because you're talking of sharing, they are talking of the owners owning major thing. So this will kind of break it sooner or later. Same way, you might think that it's very important to stick to laws of the land. They might think that it's important to be street smart and get the company going. Again, value mismatch. Whichever way it is, you might be the other person, they might be this person, but if there's a value mismatch and you see it, it's not worth going with those kind of people. So value system match is important. Chemistry is important because you're going to spend like 12, 13 hours with these guys every day working. So if you don't like them or if you don't see eye to eye or if you don't, gel with them, there's no way you can work. So co-founders, these are the things that you look for. Complementary skills, passion, value system match, chemistry, and then if they're doing all this, how do you ensure that they are really a part of this co-founding team? From your side, you have to offer them a fairly large chunk of the company. Okay? So I keep seeing people who call, people as co-founders, but when you look at the stock structure, the founder has got like 90%, and these guys have got 2%, 3%. And they feel, oh, I get 2% of the company, that's why he's the co-founder. Not true. Just to take an example, if you're having 40% of the company, then they should have 30-30 if you have two co-founders. So the difference can be a 10%, 5%, but it cannot be a huge difference. So, because if they're sharing your risk, you have to share the rewards too. Sooner or later, they will find out. And more than finding out, if the reward is that less, it's easy to give it up and go. So the first point of trouble, they will ask questions. The wives will ask, saying, why are you doing this? What do you have to gain, even if they do well? It has to be substantial. So co-founders are really very key part of who you bring on table. And how do you get them? In any of these businesses, when you start out, do your search. First figure out what are those holes that you have in your experience. Whatever we might project outside, we know for sure internally that where we lack expertise. We know that this is where your problem is. You do not know as much as you need to know. So first identify those areas. Say, okay, these are the areas I want to be in. Then sit down and do your research, go out, meet people, and figure out who are those people who you think have got this expertise. Then they might be people you know already, or they might be people whom you're friends with. Or you might, like a TIE or any of these, NASCOM or any of these organizations, or it's a manufacturing thing, there's a manufacturing association, which will tell you, which will kind of be the grounds where you kind of know you will find such people. So go find them. And then spend time getting to know them. Don't decide this is not an interview process where you meet once, 2 hours and say, hey, where do you come? Get them to know you, you get to know them, meet their families, get them to meet your family. Get to an extent comfortable enough to say, okay, I think it's worthwhile talking to them and taking it to the next. So that's kind of how you go about building a performance. Assuming that you got over that hump, you got your co-founders in place. Next problem that most of us face is the first 5, 10, 15 people who are the core employees, who are going to really help you build that offering, service offering, whether it's product means a product, whatever it is, they are the ones who are actually going to execute. Because you will be running around doing so many things, whether it is raising money or finding office space or what, getting the person. You won't have the time to focus on the key thing, which is what are you going to give to your customers. So these are the people, this first set of employees who are going to be trained. That is the reason why this first employees, however junior they need to be hired like you're hiring the CEO of the company. That much of effort you have to spend on them. And these people have to be star employees. They have to be A+++. You cannot compromise. You can't get average people. Because what you're trying to do is, you're trying to put yourself miles ahead of your competitors. Assume that there are enough people who are doing the same thing. So you have to put yourself miles ahead if you're going to really be that, leader. If you're going to be miles ahead, then your team has to be the kind which can think, act, behave, produce, execute in a way which is miles ahead of competition. So how does that happen if you have average people? It's not going to happen. So your first set, if you can't afford 15, you can afford only 5, then 5. But those 5 people have to be those kind who can do 15 people. You have to be really exceptional people. So exceptional people, like somebody said, how do you retain them? They are volatile. They are, they have many more options. You are not the only option. So once you know these are the people who you want to bring on board, find out what they want. Do they want to bring pet to the office? Do they want to have flexi time? Do they want to have, what is it that is the quirk? Because as a small company, you can afford to give that to them. The big company cannot. And that is the reason. Most of these kind of people, the kind of people that you want to come and work with you at this stage, are the kind of people who are not coming for money. If you think that by giving money you can attract these people, take it out of your mind. It's not money. It's something else. And what is that something else? It may be unique to each of these people. So you have to customize what you give to these people. And you can afford to do it because you are really small. And for you, these people are critical people. May not be for a big firm. Definitely not, in fact. So you spend that time, do your research, find out from their friends. what is that one thing that would make them come to you and offer that? So that is how you attract these kind of, the first set of technical people, or, your designers or architects. Go for the best in the class and find out what is it that makes them really, something which others cannot. That's, and the kind of these people, once they come in, and make sure they're excited if you are here. Don't oversell. Okay, because sometimes this whole process of hiring these co-founders and the first set of employees will give you an estimate of whether your idea is going to work or not. If you're not able to attract the best people, the right co-founders, maybe you're on a wrong track. Maybe you are drinking your own Kool-Aid in terms of thinking that it's an exciting space or idea, but it's really not so. So it's kind of validation that are you on the right track or not. So don't oversell. Paint the vision, paint the picture, and see are they getting excited or not. Because if they don't come in with that level of excitement and passion, again they cannot do justice to the job. So they have to be. And once you have this set of employees, again, key thing is share stock options with them. Because, like I said, again, money is not the reason why these people are coming. So they have to feel that they have enough skin in the game that they want to stay and make it happen. So typically you should have about 15% of the stock pool for these first 5, 10, 15 employees. So they may not get as much as the co-founders, no, not necessarily, definitely not, but they have a substantial stake. The reason why I keep on repeating this is in India we don't take this seriously. We think that just giving something is a big thing. It's not. It's how much you give to make, which is going to make a difference. Because if it's too small, people can easily throw it and go away. People they're smart enough. So you can't, you throw peanuts, you get monkeys. And in your case, you cannot throw cash. And therefore you have to give enough of the other options to make sure that they understand. As the founder, or as the, one thing I kind of missed mentioning, when you find the co-founders and when you kind of form that management team in a team, one person has to be clear leader. So even though you might have co-founders, there is one person who has to be the CEO, even if it's a small company. Because you do not want a situation where there is joint decision making. It can really slow down the company, or it can also make the company very, very, I would say this whole compromise decision making kind of situations might arise, where everybody wants to have a say, and unless everybody agrees, things don't happen. It's not
I just want to raise a
Yeah.
I just want to raise a flag here. See, I think stock should be directly proportional to the value that the employee brings to the company. So there is a difference between whether it's a startup or whether it's an ongoing concern. Really, is not the issue here. I think the issue is that stock should be proportional to value today. And you're right, you should cover the pool, but that doesn't mean you dilute the pool at the first place. That's key. So just because you have 15% for your manco or your board team, so to speak, doesn't mean that you should go ahead and just dilute it because you have 5 guys, you shouldn't dilute 15%. It's also a function of the value that they bring to the company.
First is you only get people who bring enough value to the company. You do not get people whom you already are feeling that they are not going to bring that value. So that's point number 1. Once you are getting people who are going to bring value to the company, all I'm saying is make sure you reward them adequately. You know what they are bringing in. Like for instance, a star programmer, architect, not programmer, star architect for a product, technical product, has to be rewarded with a 1%, 2% kind of
No, all I'm saying is you don't dilute the pool in your first go. You know, it's more it's an ad hoc thing. It's not a formula.
Yeah.
There is no formula for this.
It's not.
You can't say I reserve 15%. You can say I do 10, or you might even do 20, for example.
Yeah, you might do, but I'm saying it cannot be 5% for
Right.
employees. All I'm saying is keep at least 10 to 15 to 20% as a pool for this first set of employees.
And the flip side to this equation is that Indian corporate law is very, very pro-minority stakeholder. So you need to build also exit clauses with these guys, because in spite of your best efforts, this whole relationship may not work out. The company might go under. You might want to go for another round of dilution. 20,000 things happen in the course of a startup which cannot be predicted. So it's very important to have necessary exit clauses for at least the first, everybody inclusive the founder, co-founder, whatever you choose to call it. Because the minority shareholder in an Indian company is on a much higher pedestal than or company law takes a very serious view of any abuse that you try to do with the minority shareholder. And conversely, he can sit in a corner and he can do all sorts of stuff. So I mean,
Yeah, that's why in fact you have all those legal documents that you definitely have.
When do you actually, because taking from this point of view, like when do you decide to keep the stock options? Because say my company is running for 4 years, but I know that out of the initials that people join, only 2 are still there. So if you straight away give out options, later on it may happen that they are not there in the company, and then combination of how to take it back, and also when you decide after judging for some time, after you may create the pool. I'm not opposing that 10, 15, 20% also. When you decide, because someone you may not know in the beginning may actually turn out more valuable in the long run because of loyalty or other issues and all, and especially sticking to the team where the things are not going good and all. Others may just jump at the first instance and maybe very good for 1 year, but may not last for say 4 years.
See, there's always vesting schedule. You never kind of give stocks upfront. It's always vested over a period of time. That's number one. Second is, I strongly believe this first, this co-founders and the first set of employees, you have to trust and empower them. So, spend enough time on whom you're hiring. The situation where you're saying where people are leaving at the first go, that means wrong hiring has already happened. Okay? And that means enough time and effort has not gone into hiring this people. Because if you really look, I mean, I will talk about examples which everybody knows. So don't, kind of think that these are big companies. What are we talking about? I don't know how many of you watched Facebook, that movie.
Sure.
Okay, so they show that Sean Parker comes in as the advisor to Mark Zuckerberg, and then becomes the, almost like a president and that kind of thing. So, I'll come to that part of it. In fact, at this point, you also need to build a board of advisors, people who are going to tell you these kind of things. Okay, make sure that you're getting this guy, you're getting him as co-founder, you're putting all this, make sure you have this exit clause, make sure because they are all people who have gone through this whole exercise of building companies and having burnt themselves. Like the reason why Ashan made a good advisor was he had done Napster and he had burnt himself. He had done all the mistakes that could be done, and he had, the company was never, it failed, and it just didn't get them anywhere. So he had enough experience on how the investors could screw you, how somebody else could, what the music labels could do to you. He knew everything. So he made sure that this guy didn't do those mistakes. So having that advisors, key set of advisors, is also a big thing that you have to do. So co-founders, first set of employees, and board of advisors. All these things are important, and that's, so a lot of this will come from them. They'll tell you, don't do this, I've done it and I know what happens. So learn through other people's mistakes as well on what can be done and cannot be done.
Another competition would be sorry. Another competition, a lot of people at a junior level do not understand the value of resource. People who are slightly more evolved sort of people and slightly more, like people who are having a kind of background, whoever.
See, again I'm coming to this, the first set of people cannot maybe in
co-founders.
experience. No, even the employees, the first 5, 10, 15 employees you're bringing on board have to be really the kind who are going to help you set up and scale. Okay? They are, in their own way, they are, like for instance, you hire a star programmer out of IIT. Okay? He's miles ahead of many guys who have worked 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever. So you have to get those, the first set of employees cannot be average people you get in and you're saying, I don't know whether he understands stock option, I don't know why he's coming to work here, maybe it's because I'm paying him the same salary as some XYZ. Cannot be that. All this that I'm talking is not for those guys. Now he might come in and he may say, I have 2 data entry operators. Okay? That's a different cup of tea altogether. They are not your core people whom you want to keep. All the lower level junior, very transaction-oriented people, they should be the kind who are dispensable. They will come and go. You have to assume they will come and go. And you have to just build a pipeline, saying, okay, I know exactly how to recruit when they come, and how to kind of, let them go when they want to go, and how to get the next guy. So those are not the kind who come covered in, your stock options and your, this resource you are putting in terms of your time to keep. These are for people who are really core to your company, who can really make a difference in terms of where you can go to your company. Like for in your case, you are talking about monetization being an issue. If you are able to bring in a marketing person or a business person who is able to tell you how to monetize this, who is able to strike alliances which are going to help you monetize this company, he's a different thing. You should be spending time on hiring that kind of person and not worrying about the rest. That's where the challenge is. How do you figure out in this early stage who are these core people and how do you focus yourself on hiring them, not on getting diverted into other issues.
No, at this stage, sorry, just also want to interrupt and say that if you could also look at grazing grounds for these various people. So, we are talking about co-founders, the core team, the qualities that each one should be looking for. So, I'm sure there's a mixed thing that, some set of qualities are here which people realize but are not able to find them and don't know where and how to find these people.
Yeah.
So, how do we really go looking and where do we really go looking for these people?
Yeah.
Just one point. As a corollary of what you were saying earlier, I think the natural instinct is to say, let me find a complementary set of skills, right? Because I am weak here, let me figure out who's strong elsewhere. Nothing wrong with that logic. But I think at a more deeper level, especially for startups, because you are right, the people and the skill sets that you hire upfront can make or break the company. I think the hiring decision should be what the business needs. It is not what I lack. It is what the business needs. Because then you are only looking in front of your nose. You are not looking anywhere else. So, people need to spend
what the business needs is always the first thing. But then you are there. You are already there.
Right,
So you
obviously.
bring a certain set of skills. Then what the business needs is maybe A plus B plus C plus D. If you have A, you don't go and hire another A.
No, that
You
point
look
is
for
right.
B, you look for C. That's what I mean.
No, but that I'm saying, if I say, so it's a like a Venn diagram. So if the problem is this leads to a lot of tunnel vision, saying, okay, I don't have this. I don't know how to explain this. It's degrees of difference. Saying, I don't have this is a different statement from this is what the business needs, which I don't
What
have.
she's trying to say is a combination of both, because your business needs a set of things and you have a certain set of things.
Correct.
What is missing is what you
Go
should
look
do.
out for the difference.
Yeah, coming to what she's.
Now, when you give out stock options in the initial stages, probably what happens in a startup is that in 4-5 years, at times your business model changes completely from what you had initially envisioned.
Yes.
And you realize that those people who were the key people in first 2 years are absolutely irrelevant in the fourth or fifth year. And in the fourth and fifth year, you need to bring in people who are, who are going to lead your business now on, which is going to be a stable business model. But if already given the stock option earlier, number one, you will have limitation on what you can offer to the new people, and then there will always be like, those oldies who don't actually perform, actually have more stocks than the new smart kid who will be performing, and which may eventually lead to some dissatisfaction, or the guy may leave because he finds it a discrimination. So when do you pitch in the stock option?
So coming to that point, we discussed this. It has to be over a vesting schedule of 5 years. So you have within 5 years, if the person leaves in the second year, third year, whatever, he doesn't have as much stock as what he would have had if he stayed. And typically, you have, whether it is whatever the person's rank is, what he holds in the company and what he does for the company has to be measured separately. So when you are, looking at what your business model is and whether is this employee more a core employee or not, and you find that it's not really core to you, then he just move on, and he has only what,
Again, there
Well,
are
and what he said, the Indian laws are lopsided in favor of the minority. Even if you held 1% stock,
So you put a shotgun clause in this.
Yeah.
You put a shotgun clause and you buy him out. That's the simplest method to
but
get out of
there
it.
are various types of stocks. One is ESOPs, another one is SARS, which is equity comes
So there are enough ways to do it.
head down stocks.
Yeah, but you have to have
They have
like,
a separate session on this.
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is a big topic, right?
There is, just to give you an idea of how well this whole thing works. If you look at, now Marissa Mayer has been appointed as CEO of Yahoo. She was in that first 10-15 employees that we talk about in Google. She was one of those. So that is the quality of people you bring in at that time. People who can really next level stage jump to a CEO role after being with your company or
The
whatever.
problem here is if you find a very good core person, and if that person is already moved with his own business or something, he loves your business, but again he has direct to your business to start something business. Because in India, there are also people who start with the entrepreneurs today, they will always start another business. So how
There are,
how do you bring that
no.
full time here?
No, if he's an entrepreneur, you only waste time. I mean, it's not worthwhile because, like I said, one of the big things is there is one CEO, one leader, and the rest are co-founders, employees. So you have to have people who are going to listen to you in some way, and who are buying into your vision for what you want to do, and who think it is big enough for them to drop what they are doing and do. If they are not dropping it, they are not taking the risk you are taking. So just no way will it work also. It cannot be a side thing that they kind of sign on.
No, but
Just one.
What?
Sorry, go ahead.
So what they are asking is like, I'm leading that business coming here. So what is it more with that?
That's what I'm saying. If your idea and what you're trying to build has to be big enough, large enough. Like for instance, if he's talking about a call taxi operation. If he says, I'm going to be the biggest call taxi operator, I'm going to be the herds of this whole call taxi thing in the next 10 years or whatever, then the guy feels like it's worthwhile giving up and coming, But if he says, I'm going to be another, Ola cabs or another whatever, see, there are enough, I'll go work for them, they have got some more traction than you have got, why would I sign up for you? So the vision has to be big enough. Doing small businesses, you don't need people like that. You can do with yourself and maybe your friends, relatives, whatever. It's more safer, it's more secure, don't waste your time, it's not worthwhile. But it's obviously only, worthwhile if you're aiming.
Just in line with the same conversation, right? I know we talked a little bit about equity, when do we give it. One question I had is, and this is from my past experience, a lot of times in India, I mean, even if people are really good, they're not focused on the long-term vision. They're more focused on, it's great, the company may do well, may not do well, but like the core, I agree the co-founder has to have a risk profile, but the management or the first few employees don't necessarily have that risk profile. So they often compare, with existing salaries that they get. So even if you're willing to give out equity, there have been cases where they said, no, it's okay, I don't want equity, just pay me salary, right? And just pay me this much.
Do not employ them. They're not right for you. See, why is it so important initially to weed out people who are not right for you? Because you don't want to end up in a situation where you think you hired people, you started off, and then you find nothing is happening. People are going and coming, and you actually have a big company culture in a small company. It is not going to work because your survival odds are staked against you. Even if you do everything correct, there is 90% chance you're going to fail. So why are you wasting time in doing all this if you're getting those kind of people to come in? You're already writing your
So what are those wrong kind of people can you list out then?
attitude and mindset. It's most critical. What he said. If a guy says, "Give me salary, I'll work for you, but I don't want your stocks," show him the door. Because if not today, he's going to leave tomorrow. You might as well know he's leaving today rather than wait for that to happen tomorrow and get into trouble.
But I don't you think that what you're saying is more like an ideal case scenario, because in real world it could be different. Because I'd say like a lot of people are not starting like in a company, starting a company which is funded. They're starting something bootstrapping like what I did, and it's very difficult to have the kind of resources to get the kind of people that you really want. And also like if you're waiting for the right person to join, you can see the reality is that it's very difficult to hire people for startups. I don't know of any forum where you can go and hire people for startups, because it could be the other way around. Like we had a very good event for Thai only, organized by Thai, where a lot of startups are looking for people. So there's no one actually offering their service, offering themselves for job, but they're all looking for people, and most of the people at the board, which is only here somewhere, all of them are looking for developers. So I'm also looking for a developer, and there are 50 people looking for developers. So there's not a single developer coming to such a forum. And I would rather start with someone than wait for the right person to come to the door and wait for the person to come and appear and would say that I want this house. And the reality is when I started, that time I knew that every day I was thinking that whether the person will come back to office, because we had cases like people had come to office for 10 days and stopped coming. Then we hear that the person had taken a leave from the old office, has come to try out this company and came. So it could be my shortcoming or drawback that I'm not able to attract the right person. The reality is that you cannot add to any job sites. Job sites people are looking for only established names. Like one thing is attracted me to this session was that how to hire people when there's no brand or value like you can talk about. So I think a lot of the reality is different from the. I would really like to go with what you're saying, but can I actually do that? I have to start my work. I have to start my business, and the people who are coming, we are hiring. We start with 3 co-founders. And people are coming to the door and we're hiring and all. We tried all out, we went to Pune to hire people and all. People sometimes you cannot really offer that kind of salary or you can offer that kind of vision to people who are like, we really want to hire people with experience, but it's not possible. They are like co-founders. Because we have the money to pay them or even the vision to tell and share and all. So how do you bridge that gap? I think what you're saying is very good, perfect. Maybe in US the culture is different. You want to talk about Madison. I also the story is very inspiring and all. And even with Sheryl Sandberg, what happened at Facebook also is very good. But in India, how do you do that?
Yeah. So I have seen companies which have done it. So to say that it cannot be done in India is not true. Just to give you an example, I don't know how many of you have used SlideShare. It's a product and company built out of India in Gurgaon. Okay, and I know this guy, Amit Ranjan.
They just sold it.
Yeah, they sold it to LinkedIn. But Amit Ranjan, I've been observing, watching, working with him for last like 3-4 years since the time he started. First, get out of your mind that you can hire these first 10-15 critical people through recruiters or job sites. No, not going to work. You have to hire them yourself. So the question is, here you're sitting, you have this bright idea, you think it's a game changer. Is needed, it's some product or a service that people need and doesn't they're going to want to come. And you know what kind of people you want, but they don't know you exist. Okay? They are there somewhere. You don't know where they are. Because 90%, 99% of the crowd outside that you see are the crowd that want to work for an IBM, they want to work for a, Wipro, IT Forces, XYZ product company, Facebook, Google, blah, blah, blah. There's that 1, 2, 3, 4 people who are the kind who want to say, you know what, I want to build this cool website. I'm so passionate about movies that I want to do something which marries my interest in movies and my technology skills. Okay? So there is this 1, 2, 3 people who are the right people for you. How do you find it? There is no other way other than making sure that you put yourself out there, write a blog. If you go out and see, almost every successful company founder is writing a blog. Okay, you can't escape. In today's world, how are people connecting? They're connecting through Facebook, they're connecting through LinkedIn, they're connecting through Twitter, they're connecting through blogs, they're connecting through all these social networks that are possible. You put yourself out there because they have to find you. You're right, the real ideal employees, you don't find them, they find you. Because when they find you, they know why they are coming to you for a job. They will come and tell you, boss, your idea is super cool. I read your blog. Fascinating what you're doing. I want to come and work for you. Now think about how the discussion changes when somebody comes and tells you that instead of you going and saying, I'm doing this cool thing and I think you will benefit a lot by working here. The discussion has to change. The discussion has to change in such a manner that the guy comes and tells you, I want to work for you. Okay? I'll give you an example of this also. There is this company called Foursquare. I don't know whether you guys have heard of it. Okay? It's a location company. Very small startup. Okay? There were multiple location companies. It was at one point of time, this whole location was the hottest space to be in. So every guy was starting a company. So it's not like Foursquare had the most brilliant idea or anything like that. But they were at it. Then they were writing, this blog. They were talking about it in various places. So this guy who was studying in Stanford doing his MBA, he saw it. He watched it. He said, these are guys I want to work with. They really look cool. They look different. So he wrote to them a letter. And you know what? I have no experience. I'm just finishing my MBA. But I think I can add value to your company. Can I come and meet with you? So they said, okay, come along. Because you're looking for these people who are showing that excitement about what you're doing. So of course they said, come along. He went there. They met him, smart guy, everything. And they said, what do you want to do? He said, I will be your VP of Business. A VP for a company with no experience. Okay? And business development is a big part of what especially startup, because today unless you have those right partnership and alliances, sometimes your reach and your growth is totally not scalable. So you need those alliances. But business development alliances are typically with larger companies, and then you are talking about bigger companies. So I like this, making that happen. But they went ahead. The founder said, okay, fine, I'll trust you with that. I'll give you this tool. This guy came in and made, he got them alliances with media companies like CNN, NBC. He got them alliances with fairly large retail places like Starbucks. So when Starbucks ties with Foursquare, and every time you go into Starbucks, it appears that you are at a Starbucks. It works for them and it works for you. But it's Starbucks is a bigger name, so it definitely works better for you than it's for them. So this guy, Tristan Walker, he's a very famous guy now because people said, whoa, who is this kid who made all this happen for these guys? And he's now venture capitalist. But essentially, I'm saying that the first few employees, one, they have to be of this category of people. If you're not thinking this category, then you've failed your company. As a founder, you've failed your company. And once you've done that, don't expect things to happen. If you don't do what you're supposed to be doing right, how do you expect other things to happen to you? So I think it's very critical to think in a very different level altogether if you want to build something really big.
Usually we should let her, one second. I feel we should let her speak out what she has because she has the expertise. Let her speak out whatever point she has. What you're saying of 3 points. She was on the second point. It's fine we have question. Maybe we can put it afterwards, this question and answer. So that it doesn't disturb that whole rhythm what she wants to give out to us. And that is more important for us to grasp that and then to react on. Because we are reacting before that and then the comments, we are not getting what she as a core wants to say. Maybe we can have it afterwards.
So,
After that 15, we can write it down what the question they have.
So I was actually telling you that there are 3 things that you have to do very critical for the company. One is co-founders, second is this first set of employees, and third is the board of advisors. Now, often enough, what I find is that when you're meeting with board of advisors, people go for brand names. They want people who they see in economic times, and they want people who they read in magazines about to come on there. Because they think that will get them money, that will get them customers. Never do that list. People who are that, big, they won't have time for you. You need advisors who are willing to take your call any time of the day. You call at 10 o'clock in the night and say, hey, I have this problem, I'm just not able to figure out what to do next about this. They should be spending that half an hour on the call, trying to tell you how to do it, what to do, where to try, listening to you, putting themselves in your shoes, trying to help you. So you need advisors who are true advisors, not people who are there for namesake. Second is these advisors are people who need to be upfront, who need to be honest, who can tell me in your face that you're doing something wrong. And not just say, oh, poor thing, I understand, you're doing everything right, but things are not working out. What should we do? No. They are the ones who have to have the guts to tell you that you're doing something wrong, or you are just not thinking big enough, or whatever it is, they should be able to, very much call your bluff in a way. Advisors are people who should be able to call your bluff. Because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, you start kind of doing that, I'm doing everything right, I'm doing everything, like, it's only the others who are doing things wrong to me kind of situation. So they should be able to tell you in your face that yes, you are not okay, and you know what, better wind this up, go take a job, don't waste your time. If it has been told like that, they should be able to tell you. So advisors are people who are really upfront and who have very strong domain knowledge, or if it is finance, they are experts in that area, or if it is retail, they are expert guys in that area. So real hardcore people who have done it, who have rolled up their sleeves, who have gone through the grind, and they are looking to help people because they feel like they can share their knowledge and whatever. Not people who are there to, say, I'm advisor on so many different companies and, stuff like that. You can make out fluff versus real stuff and go for stuff, don't go for the fluff. You don't need it right now because you don't even know whether you're going to survive tomorrow. So why waste your time having these kind of people with you? Okay. The big difference between this advisors and say the co-founders and employees is that the advisors don't necessarily have to share your risk or reward profile. They are not taking any risk, and therefore the rewards also need not be anyway. Sometimes advisors come free. You don't have to pay them anything. Okay? So it's not, in fact, if there are advisors who are upfront saying how much are you giving, be wary, because really this is labor of love. Advisors have to do it because they are more, they have experience, they are gone beyond the stage where they themselves want to sit, but they want to be helpful.
Because they have been benefited by
others. There's got to be some other motive beyond just, if you feel like giving them rewards and you say somewhere down the line that, what, I'm going to give you some stock, it should be a very, whatever you give, I'll take kind of situation, not a negotiation or not a, that kind of thing. And again, advisors, I think a big way to get them is through investors, is through associations like TIE, is through mutual introductions, people you know, because they have to come through everything. A lot of times, unless they are referred to you, they won't be very comfortable working with you. And you also don't know, because we are talking about them having real credibility. How do you find that out? It's very important. So that's what I call the first stage, ground zero kind of contact. Assume all this has been done and you have really got some traction and you could moved on to the next stage. You are at Series B, as we call it in the venture capital world. You are ready to take a Series B investment. Going to bring it, yeah.
When you said advisors initially will come for free, but there are advisors like Sean Parker, which came as an advisor and became a president. So, if there was not enough something on the table of Sean Parker, would he become a president of it?
6 months. He was there for 6 months before he got that. I doubt, and he put money in also. So he put money in, so he got stock for that. But I'm saying it's not necessary. He wouldn't have started giving all that advice saying first put money in. That doesn't work. So assume that we've gone on to the next stage. The company is doing reasonably okay.
Was he on a pro bono basis or he was advisor?
First step, yeah. That's when he came in, yes. He got excited with the idea. He got so excited that he wouldn't let go of this guy. He said, you come over to the valley, I'll introduce you to my investors. He introduces him. So you could see value that he was bringing in and what he was doing for you and how excited he was and passionate about your company. And therefore it makes sense then to go ahead to the next step. So you should see that excitement.
The way they showed in the movie was that Sean Parker found lots of value and he got invested in it.
Yeah. So
The advisor found the company.
yeah, the thing is that excitement, passion that you have for your company has to be shared by these people, whether it's advisors, co-founders, or the first set of employees. Wherever it is not happening, don't get them in because they can't add value without being excited. Because there's nothing there to show for it. And as a founder, it's your job to get people excited. If you can't do that, I'm saying avoid getting into all that. Why take all those risks? Why take all those, big steps? Be happy doing what you're doing small way or do work for somebody. There are enough options. It's not necessary that everybody has to be an entrepreneur either. So assuming that you come to the Series B stage where you have got traction, you got maybe the first 2-3 customers who are paying for what you are doing, and you think there is a big enough market, you can see it, you can see how this can evolve. That's when you go and you raise your second, money and you start feeling that, okay, I'm going to need to put the next level of people to scale the company. This is the transition time when the company is moving from idea stage to the execution stage. At this time, the kind of people you bring in are going to be different from what you hire before. First set of employees when you hire, we never talked of domain expertise. We never talked of, having so many years of experience. We only talked about attitude, passion, chemistry, all those kind of things. Now at this stage, that's not enough. That's required. Even at this stage, you require people who are coming in for the right reasons to work for you. But at this stage, it's more critical that they bring in the right domain expertise, the right number of years of experience, the right depth of experience. Because now it's an execution phase. You have to, for instance, set up a dealer channel, and the person better know who are the dealers, how to talk to them, what is the kind of dealer agreement that you can put together. He's not learning and you don't know how to do it. You've not built a company or you've not worked at that level before, so you don't know. You can't teach him much. So he has to come and say that he knows more than you in that particular area. So this is a set of people you're bringing in because of real hardcore experience. This is the point also where most entrepreneurs go wrong. They either underhire or they overhire. How do you underhire? Most often you end up underhiring because you say, how will that guy come and work for me? He knows more than me. He has more experience than me. He's got a better looking CV than I have. How is he going to come and work for me? Not true. So again, this is, he's going to join you because he thinks that there is, that whole empowerment we talked about, the opportunity to do something much bigger than what he can do in a larger company. He's going to come here because he can actually he may have his own ideas on what a dealer channel should be like and how it should be set up. No big company is going to allow him to do it. You're going to allow him to do it. So he's going to come for various reasons. So don't ever think, why should this guy come and work for me? What is in it there for me? There is enough. So you to make that value proposition clear on why he should come and work for you.
Can you repeat on underhire, overhire? How do you differentiate what is?
Underhire, if you get in a person and he says, I have been a dealer sales guy, I don't really know what the, how to put a dealer contract agreement together. I don't have those kind of relations, but I know these are the guys who are dealers. I've seen their network. I'll go and learn and now do it. Not going to work for you. He has to come in at a level where he knows how to put the strategy and then execute on it. He cannot be one or the other. So he has to know more than you, and he has to be able to tell you, I did this in this job, I did it in this job, I did it in this job, and here this is what went wrong, here this is what went right, this is where, the way the market is changing, therefore this is what the next way to do it is going to be like.
Overhire?
Overhire is often because most people get very enamored with this brand people. You hire thinking that this guy was vice president in so and so company. He has to be good. A lot of time these companies promote them to their level of incompetence. Okay? So when you get a guy like that who is VP so and so in some place, he's already finished his career. He's already done. And he will come here and he will be very unnerved in a chaotic work environment. He will want structure. He will want support. He will want a team. He will not go out of the office and make that sales call that needs to be made. He will expect his people to go and do it. And in a small company, you can't afford it. Everybody has to make the sales call. Everybody has to do the marketing. Everybody has to do everything. So such people necessarily, even if they come with tons of experience, great editors, good pedigree, they are overhired.
They are not good. This happened.
So that's, I think, what the reason, and most of them, the way to find out whether you're hiring the wrong person is what is the reason he is coming to join you for. Typically, they will insist on that high salary. Okay, that is a giveaway.
But there is a guy who come.
Mitesh, we'll take it offline later. Let us just finish up.
Yeah.
But he didn't take that high salary. I thought
He was fired from his job.
So do a lot of reference checks. I mean, reference checks, not the references that they give you, but references you go and find out who are the people who work with them. And make a cold call to those guys and say, hey, you know what, I'm hiring this guy. Please come, can I meet with you for a coffee or tea? Let's have it and tell me what you think of it. 99% you get honest feedback, especially if you meet them, not on the phone. Because sometimes phone they are very, diplomatic. So meet them and say, you know what, tell me. They will say, he's very good. He needs 10 people before he can even start. He's off. So find out. Do reference taking. Don't hire. So a lot of times under hiring also happens, I've seen, hired all those A+ people and all co-founder and everybody. You're wondering whether they will get along with these guys. You're wondering whether they will accept this, next set of people. And therefore you say, what, I'll get people who can easily merge with the company, therefore I won't take these bold decisions and get these people who are. So, and then it becomes a catch-22 situation because you're not getting the right kind of people. The company is not growing. When the company is not growing, there is nothing in it for anybody. So it's very important to take, you have to get people to accept these people, but the way to do it is as a CEO or as a founder, as the leader, you have to set expectations correctly. You have to say, what, I need to bring these people in. And I expect you all to support me in doing this. So even the whole interviewing process, how we bring these people in, the interview process is critical. So you have to make sure from day one that when you bring them into the company, they see you as you are, but they see the best part of you, how you make them feel, how welcome they are feeling, how you treat them, how they feel that they are being, wanted, feeling of being wanted in that company. All that is very important because you are a small company still. And you're trying to get people who have experience, who have many more options. So they have to feel that during the interview process, like they want to join this team. They are coming in because of you, your founders, the first set of employees. How, attractive that whole team is what determines whether they're going to come in or not. So make sure that the interview process, some of these companies I've seen at this stage, they start thinking you're a big company. So they'll make the guy come and wait at the interview. The founder will say, I'm too busy. I forgot about the interview. He won't take the call at the right time. They do all kinds of things. And then I have seen another company where the entire company will interview this one guy. And then they will come back and say, no, so-and-so said he didn't like him, so I'm not going ahead. It doesn't work that way. I mean, once you decided that this is the kind of guy, first you do enough research, say this is the kind of guy I want. And once you decide this kind, I need to attract him to my company, lay the red carpet, make sure that he likes your team, he wants to come work for you. And you make it clear as to what value proposition you are bringing to him and get him to come join you. That is your job as a CEO. The biggest job and the most critical job you're doing is getting the right people in. Nothing else can be more critical. So that second stage, you have to start thinking about how to get the next level of people in. How to make sure that you get the right set of people. And sometimes when the idea is new or you're in a completely different market, you might have to look at different industries. If for instance e-commerce, all said and done e-commerce is new. You are not going to get enough experienced people from e-commerce companies to come in because all the e-commerce companies itself are like 1 year old and 2 year old and 3 year old. So you might have to look outside that industry. So what are those industries? What are the lateral kind of skills that you can pick up from these other places? Like I was talking to the Amazon guys. They are setting up Amazon India now. And they're talking about how they are hiring for their warehouses. First thing they said was, we don't want people who are running warehouses of Future Bazaar or Reliance Retail. Because we don't run warehouses like that. Our warehouses run on Six Sigma. So what do we want? We want people who understand Six Sigma and those kind of things. Therefore, we want people who work for Toyota. Guess what? A Toyota guy will find an Amazon job far more attractive. Really. Then, so you, there itself, by defining the job differently, you made the job of hiring easier. Okay? So, define what you require in a manner that opens up possibilities of where those skills come from. Don't chase those, the very similar competition. What is he going to do? He's going to come and do the same thing he did there, which is anyway not doing the greatest of things. So